What's up YouTube? My name is Uncle Smokey, and this is Uncle Smokey Stock Trades. And before I start this video, I would like to say, I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. So please take what I say with a grain of salt, and do your own DD.
What's going on, everybody? It is Sunday night, and I am 2 days away from getting on my plane to go to Halifax. And I am as nervous as it gets. So the grand opening is on Thursday, the 17th. And I will be there, of course. As you know, I was invited, and I'm going. I'm taking this opportunity to make this happen. Very exciting moment for me. I have gone through so many different levels of stress with this. As a matter of fact, today I have packed, I've unpacked, I've repacked, I've unpacked again. I've taken stuff out, I've added stuff in, I've taken stuff back out. I have just reassured that all of my checklists are checked. I've checked them 3 or 4 times now. And I don't think I have everything ready yet. I thought I was going to take a third bag. I'm now down to 2 bags. I might still go back to a third bag just because I don't really know if I'm going to need that third bag or not. I'm just... I blame all on nerves. Anyway, let's get into this video because this may be the last one I make until I get to Halifax. I don't know yet. We'll see what happens tomorrow, but I got to start taking my camera gear down from my computer so I can take it with me as well. Anywho, Thursday, the CPI came out, and as you can see, the markets did respond very well to that CPI report. Now, that CPI report was pretty dang good, I must say so myself. It only came in 0.4% up as far as it goes for all line items, and 0.3% up as far as your core CPI, which is below what the analysts were expecting. And that is why you saw such great market response today. However, coming up tomorrow morning is the PPI index, so the producer price index. Yes, it's another lagging indicator like the CPI. However, this lagging indicator is what's going to indicate what the next CPI could potentially look like. All right, so just keep that in mind, that this one is actually the lagging indicator that is the future readout for the next lagging indicator. I know, a little bit confusing, but it is. Anyhow, so I don't know what's going to continue to happen if we go ahead and look at the charts overall. Going over to the SPY, as you can see on the SPY, we haven't quite, this is the daily time frame, haven't quite tapped that 200 MA yet. And again, I've talked about this over and over again. The 200 MA mounting that would be the indicator that the bear market may be over, and you might actually see a little bit of a bull market from there on out. Ultimately, what you want to see is all of the indicators, all of the 20 and 50 MA indicators, these blue and light green lines here, to get back up here as well. If it crosses over that and maintains, then yes, you're on the way. Anywho, Dow's actually went ahead and crossed over as far as it goes on the 200, but we're still waiting on the indicators. And the Nasdaq's looking very similar to the SPY. Zooming out, if you go to a more macro perspective here, it looks a lot less impressive, doesn't it? Now, it does look like you've got the form of a slight double bottom down here. We'll see if that holds. But as of right now, I wouldn't count on it too much. As a matter of fact, we're just going to go ahead and draw a line together. You know how I like to draw lines with everybody. And we're going to go ahead and toss a trend line in there. Let's go ahead and make some touches. You got to get touchy with these trend lines. There we go. Okay. So, we've had some slight breaks of some trend lines here and there, but unfortunately, as you can see, as of right now, we have not broke this one. This is the longer time trend line right here. Ignore this one. In fact, boom, get that out of there. We did break free of the trend line that we had there, and again, we've been in consolidation mode with the exception of the last 2 days. And you can do that across all of your time frames. Moving on over to MMAT. So, metamaterials finished out flat on Friday, and what a crazy Thursday we had there, right? Wednesday, Thursday, all kind of just nutsy. Why? Well, we had our earnings come out. And the earnings weren't the best. Now, if you're a long-term holder, they were just about exactly what you thought they would be. They came in a little light on the revenue side, but that's okay. We don't have any major contracts. All we're expecting is the income coming from nanotech. And that's what we saw. We saw nanotechnology's income, again, carry Meta through another quarter. And that's okay. We're expecting that. George has even said in a couple last interviews that he's done, that you should be looking to 2023 and 2024 for the big market move, right? We're still a baby. We're still learning. We're still in development mode, okay? So that's where we're at with that. So apparently people weren't too happy with the way the earnings came in, but it did mellow out. It actually didn't go as low as a lot of people thought it would go. A lot of people thought it was going to touch that $1 mark. And I had said, if it comes down and it tests this line and breaks through, there's a good chance that we're going to see them 63-cent levels again. However, if it can hold this 115, 23% retracement level and bounce off of it, then we're in good shape. The market is adjusted for everything. This earnings is just no big deal. It was a scare tactic. They're just trying to bring you down below a level of resistance to try and shake some people out, especially these people that got in the last couple of days, well, I should say last couple of weeks, back up in here when it was bouncing around up in here. They wanted to drop it down here to scare people out, to get their shares. And I don't know, it may have worked, it may not have. To me, I don't think it did, because I think if when they dropped it down here, right, and it did this one, I think it would have stayed down if it would have shooken some people out. I don't think anybody's scared. The retail investors are very well aware now of these market manipulation moves, these scare tactics that the hedge funds, the market makers do to try and scare people out of their positions, to snuff them out. They're called stop loss hunters. So what I suggest is never set a stop loss, set alarms, set alerts. But stop losses, that's a great way to snuff yourself out of a position and allow for those short hedge funds to be able to grab those shares and utilize those as coverage shares. Anywho, or just take synthetics off. Anywho, moving out to a longer time frame, the longest time frame I like to look at, which is the 1 day. And of course, you could look at the weekly, the monthly, and the quarterly. I wouldn't suggest looking at the quarterly right now. It's not very good, just because the company's only been around for a few quarters now as far as on the market. What we're looking at here on the daily time frame, though, is extremely bullish. So we saw that move to $1.66. It did make that break down below 166, where I expected it to go. It did bounce off that 200 MA. That is crucial. It did not make a full retracement all the way down, right? It bounced off the 200 MA and is held. Very important to see that. You've got your 50 hooking up. You've got your 20 almost crossing over that 200 now. So in all honesty, I think we're still in very bullish momentum. I don't foresee any more further pullback, with the exception of a pullback to this trend line and a bounce of that trend line. We need to keep respecting this trend line like we did back here. And if you look at it very closely, let's take all these lines out of here and look at it. Step, step. That's all you're seeing. You're seeing some stepping action. That's exactly what we want to see. Day after day, we want to see a little bit of momentum forward and then maybe a slight pullback for a couple of days and then momentum forward again. I've talked about in many, many videos, I talked about having the stair-stepping momentum. So that's what we're seeing, and I'm very happy to see that. Moving on to the options chain really quick. What we've got going on, options chain. So the November 18th expiration is finally here. And yes, the open interest has increased dramatically. You are still seeing that 10,000 at the $1 strike. You're seeing 10,000 at the 150 strike, 16,000 at the $2 strike, and 1,300 at the $2.50 strike. So there is a lot of conviction at that $2 strike right now. And if you go over here to the put side, you can see that there's not quite so much conviction on the puts end of it as far as it goes, including going out further in the future time frames. Not so much put conviction. So I would have to say that I think that we could potentially see some more run coming up here this week, at least the first couple of days, because like I said, there's some people that are convicted. They think that 2 could possibly come in the money, and it's absolutely able to be done, no problem. So with that being said, looking at MMTLP's chart really quick. Again, same situation we've got going on here. It just keeps hitting these levels of resistance. I keep saying $7.50 is going to be a level of resistance, and it has showed up back here the first time. I said, watch for it again. Showed up, and almost there again. It might even show up again. Now, with that being said, I said in my live stream we were going to come down to $6. It tapped that $6 retracement level and it ran off of that back up to that $7 mark. We're currently sitting at 704 on MMTLP. $7 being the dollar mark will be that psychological level of resistance. We got to crack back through that and remount it to get back to 750. Once you get beyond 750, I think $8.60 to $8.70 will be your next major level of resistance. Of course, excluding that $8 mark. $8 will be a level of resistance as well, being psychological, but I don't think it's going to be strong. Remember, we're setting new highs every time we make these new highs. They've never been touched before on this ticker, and they may never touch it again. You don't really know. What we're currently waiting for on MMTLP is the S1. Now, with that being said, talking about S1, I want to talk about that right now before I go any further. This was brought up the other day, and George Palikaris responded. Great. We love it when GP gets out there and crushes the FUD. So Hollywood Henry came on. Who's responsible for the MMTLP S1 delays? George then politely said, what I can say right now is the two examples below are not comparable. I have said many times it's hard to compare two different stocks, two different situations every single time. They don't always follow the same exact path. They have the same rules. They don't follow the same path because there's always things that get in the way. Anyway, beyond our own advisors and the SEC, there are other parties involved. I am confident we will complete all necessary steps successfully, 100%. MMAT is not delaying any of the processes. So Meta has nothing to do with any delays, and believe it or not, I don't think the SEC does either, because he says right in here, beyond our own advisors and the SEC, because there are other parties involved. Well, who are those other parties? Well, I really wanted to know that. That was a question I kept asking myself. Who's the other party? Well, we found out. Got a little help on that, by the way. And here is who the other party is, and that's the FINRA. The FINRA also has to approve the S1 as well. There are specific guidelines and rules that have to be followed through the FINRA. Note that when the filing came back, that there was a couple of sections that were taken out about the day that it had to be set. I think that was taken away from by the FINRA, because they say that there are, down here in the review process, there's unreasonable letters, there's defer letters, and there is no objections letters. And if they ask for something that would not be fair for hedge funds and market makers, then they would consider it an unreasonable request. And I think that they took that section out about how they were going to have it stop trading one day before the record date was because of it wasn't fair. So, I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know. But anyway, the review process. On average, first, let's get up here to prove that it needs to be done this way. Public offerings, which you can consider this a public offering. It's not. It is a private, a public share going private, but it is still an S1. So you have to look at it that way. Firms must file documents and other information in connection with public offerings. These documents include registration statements or offering circulars and their exhibits and amendments. The documents must be submitted no later than 3 business days after they are filed or submitted to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC. FINRA accords confidential treatment to all filed documents and information. Firms may not make unfair terms and arrangements. That was an unfair term and arrangement, apparently. And firms have specific requirements and offerings in which they are specified. Conflict of interest. Coming on down here, and of course you guys can read all this if you want. This comes right out of FINRA.org, by the way. FINRA.org, rules and guidance, key topics, public offerings. The review process, and I only went to public offerings. Again, I know this isn't an offering. It's the reverse process of an offering. They're taking the shares off the market. So I'm looking at it that way. So, on average, the review process takes 10 to 25 business days, Monday through Friday, guys, excluding holidays. FINRA's review of public offering filings provided with a regulatory guidance on what constitutes fair and reasonable underwriting arrangements. FINRA's review process complements the SEC's registration process for issuers. The SEC defers to FINRA to establish reasonable levels of underwriting compensation and adequate disclosures of the underwritten terms and conflicts. So, again, FINRA has to determine whether it's fair, right? So, the first reviewer is responsible for the initial review of the filing, entire life cycle of the filing, including the review of all amendments and responses to the department's commitment letter. No, comment letter. I said it right. Anyway, the second reviewer provides oversight and guidance to the first reviewer as well as final approval. FINRA issues 3 primary types of comment letters. Defer letter identifies regulatory concerns and requires clarification or additional documents. So they've gotten one of those. Or unreasonable letter. FINRA issues an unreasonable letter if the terms and arrangements governing members' participation and disclosures regarding those terms and arrangements do not appear to comply with the corporate financing rules. Filers may file modifications to the proposed underwriting and other terms and arrangements for further review. Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And then no objections letter is when the process is all complete. FINRA will issue a no objections letter. A firm must receive no objections letter before the participants and before it participates in a distribution of securities to investors, or before it participates in the removal of the securities from the exchange. And then still they're giving investors shares. So there's still a form of an offering going on. So that is the reason why I went to this section in this, because it is still a form of an offering. It is a private placement, basically, to the retail holders that have been holding for over a year now. So FINRA is the other party involved, not a buyer or anything like that. I'm not saying that there isn't one. I don't think there is one. I've stated that many times over. I personally think, and I'm sure I'm wrong, but I think Meta can actually do something with that land. As long as it's not underneath their name, they're good to do something, like actually use it. I don't know. But what do I know? I'm a smooth-brained ape that likes to eat crayons. I didn't even give Sprite their proper due. Sprite. Not a sponsor yet. Okay, so moving on away from that, I just wanted to clarify that this George tweet here, I still do not think that it has anything to do with the buyer. I do believe it has something to do with FINRA. Let's go ahead on over to Ortex. Ortex showing utilization is 97.66%. Cost to borrow is 11.89%. Days to cover would be 4.9 days. That is according to the volume that is being shared. Now, always remember this is on a T2 delay, so this last day's volume, Friday's volume of less than 5 million, will actually boost that days to cover up a little bit. You'll probably be back over that 5 days to cover once that actually takes into effect Monday or Tuesday. Now, shares on loans currently at 36.91 million shares. That is up over the course of the last 3 months. Free float on loan is 11.42% of the free float. Now, again, that is only off of what FINRA or off of what Ortex is going with, because Ortex does not have the data accurately marked, and neither does Fintel. Remember, our insider holdings is much larger than what it actually looks because of the MMAX holdings. So that 11.42% free float on loan is probably more close to 15 to 20% free float on loan. Just like when we go over here to the overview, you're going to notice here it says the live short interest is 11.58% of the overall free float. It's probably closer to 15 to 20%, even more than that, because of the insider holdings from the MMAX side. Now, moving on over to Fintel. Fintel is giving you a lot of the same information. Short interest is currently 35,612,455 shares. And that's probably pretty accurate as far as it goes. But again, the insider ownership is wrong. So, anywho, short squeeze score 71.74. Again, not too concerned about the short squeeze. Gamma squeeze score, however, is at a 94.26. Again, gamma squeeze can happen. That is because what happens is when these strikes come into the money, they have to buy. But I don't think that there's like a whole lot there yet. So I don't want to crush hopes, but I don't want to let everybody like get these false hopes up there either. Don't think that because we have all this really good open interest here on the 18th, that it's going to create this gamma squeeze. We don't have very many strikes above that. Gamma squeezes are going to be created by multiple strikes coming into the money over and over and over again. That's how a gamma squeeze works. We don't have that right now. So just keep that in mind. Yes, it is possible to see a squeeze movement off of the open interest we have, but I wouldn't expect for it to go much past that $2.50 to $3 mark, considering that the options chain doesn't support it. And the gamma squeeze is a squeeze that is dependent on the options chain. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at a gamma squeeze. The gamma squeeze is referred to off your options, and I don't see enough strikes here with enough open interest past what we have at the $2 strike to create a massive gamma squeeze. We could see some movement, but not a gamma squeeze. So just getting that out there. All right. All right, so dark pool volume. On Friday, of course, we were at 60% of the overall volume was traded off exchange. Again, my view on this whole off exchange thing has changed dramatically. I was thinking that it was a terrible thing, but then when you actually look at it, how many retail investors trade with your Weebles, your Robinhoods, your trading 212s, and those are dark pool trades. So a lot of this off exchange volume is us. Now, as far as it goes with that, you want to go and look at the shorting volume. That's the more important information, was how much of the volume was short. 57% of the overall volume was short on Friday, and 51% of the volume off exchange was short. So half of the volume off exchange was short volume. Alrighty. And finally, looking over here, we still don't have anything as far as it goes with the S1A. However, you can take it from this date, 10/21, go to your calendar. I had talked about FINRA being 10 to 25 days acceptance. Go to your calendar, count it out. So from the 21st of last month, 25, roughly the 28th of November would be the deadline for FINRA to finish up their process if it needs any further adjustments. And that would be the maximum amount of time, I would think. Because, again, they had said right here in this on FINRA.org that they try to do, the process is 10 to 25 business days. Business days. All right. Our borrow desk is currently showing 3,000 shares available for MMTLP at a borrow rate of 37.6%. All right, so according to FINRA, we actually have an update here. It looks like they've got it all jacked up. But according to this, there was a slight pullback in shorts. Current short interest is 6,356,133. That is a very small amount. That is going from 10/14 to 10/31. Let's go ahead and pull our chart up, back over to MMTLP. Okay. 10/14 to 10/31. So here's the 14th right here. They dropped it down. So again, we talked about them still having 6.5 million up to the $7.50 mark, $7.51 mark. They dropped it down from here and ran it all the way to here. 1, 2, right here. Right here. This is where we're at on that current filing for short interest for MMTLP. Look at all of that beautiful green momentum. That was no shorts covering because there's still 6.3 million in short interest for MMTLP. They've only dug deeper. And again, it's only gone higher and leveled out since then. I'll be willing to bet there are still more shorts on top of that. There was no short coverage. None. Even with all of this green, no short coverage. They are not worried. They don't think anything's going to happen. This is going to come down. Nothing's going to go on. It's going to keep getting drug out. The one problem is they've got FINRA on their side. So, I don't know. Anyway, so I think that's going to cap off the video tonight. I know it was probably a whole lot of nothing because a whole lot of nothing has happened since the earnings. This is just a little recap. Yeah, I'll hit you guys up probably Monday or Tuesday. At the latest Tuesday when I'm on the road to the airport. Peace, y'all.